Hey, what is up guys? Mike Lack here. Thanks so much for tuning in to this video blog. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to become a UI UX designer, or how to position yourself as a UI UX designer for the likes of like recruiters, small business owners, and those people that are looking for UI UX designers. Because I get a lot of emails from people that are maybe graphic designers, and they're hearing me talk a lot about UI UX design, and essentially UI design, UI UX design is where the money is. This is where companies are paying top dollars for these individuals to come in and work on their web applications and things like that. So I want to give you some pointers, like in a dumbed down way. You know, there's there's much more to this, but I want to like kind of dumb it down and kind of give you some things that you can think about today, this weekend, to start actually applying towards your portfolio to actually make yourself look, or kind of start diving into the area of UI UX designer, okay? And make yourself look like a UI UX designer. Now, UI UX design, before you go there, you have to have basic web design skills, okay? Basic web design 101 skills, being able to design some things in Photoshop, Fireworks, being able to produce simple websites, you know, 3 to 5 page simple websites. Because the reason why I say that is because web design is the foundation to UI UX design, it's the foundation to mobile design, it's the foundation to building, designing apps for the tablet. Your web design skills is basically the same skills, the same principles that you're going to be using in these other areas. So the first thing, first and foremost, you want to understand basic, simple web UI design skills, okay? That means designing simple 3 to 5 page websites, okay? You can look on my YouTube channel, you can go to my website, look at my training course. You can do so many different things to learn about simple, basic web design skills, okay? So you want to start there. And once you have a simple, basic understanding of web design, here is the difference between a simple web designer and a UI UX designer. So now, when you're a freelance web designer, you're typically building what I call brochure websites. These are simple 3 to 5 page websites that are simply brochures. There are no or little or no interactions that take place on those individual pages. And what I mean by that, remember the word interactions, because we're going to be talking a lot about interactions, because interactions is the difference between UI UX design and just simple web designing. Okay, so now when you're building these simple, you know, brochure type websites, this is like what 90% of all freelance web designers do when you're dealing with mom and pop shops and small businesses, because they're paying you small amounts of money. So there's not a lot of programming going on those websites. And basically these websites are simply brochure type websites. And what a brochure type website is basically you have these 3 to 5 page websites, and on each of the pages is simply just an image or some text, okay? So you might build a site for an attorney, okay? And on the home page there's a nice beautiful graphic. It says contact us, or it says look at our services or view our team. You click on the link, you know, about us, and there's some photos of the people that are there and some text, and that's it, okay? So as a user, I'm not interacting with this page. All I'm doing is viewing it, somewhat like you would do a brochure, okay? You're not really interacting with it. You might go to a services page where there's a bullet point list of text. That, again, I'm not really interacting with that page. All I'm doing is reading it, okay? So there are limited interactions going on. Now, there might be a contact page, and on that contact page there might be a form, a contact form where the user actually fills out, you know, enter their name, address, and stuff like that. And now you're kind of getting your feet wet in the realm of UI UX design. When you have a user that starts to interact with something on the page, and so a customer will fill out a form, they hit a submit button, and then something happens. There's an interaction, okay? And so they either get taken to the thank you page, or they get taken to some other thing, or some other thank you notification comes up, or an email gets sent to them. See, those are interactions, and that's where you're starting to dive into the realm of UI UX design. Okay, so now, how to position yourself as a UI UX design going forward. What you can do is start to understand that the UI UX design world starts to come into play when you have multiple interactions on that particular page. Okay, so if you have a brochure type website where there's limited interactions, you're not really positioning yourself as a UI UX designer. You're simply a web designer. Okay, a UI UX designer is one that design pages, whether it's a web app, it's a mobile app, it's a website, whatever it is that has multiple interactions on that page. I'll give you an example. You ever booked a flight? Let's look at the website Kayak. Okay, it's a really popular website where you can book flights and book hotels and things like that. You start off on that page and you start interacting with the forms. Okay, you might pick a date on the times, you know, the airport that you want to fly in and fly out of. Okay, and basically what happens is you pick that, you click on a button and you get taken to another page. And when you start interacting with all these different widgets, buttons, icons, calendar things, these are called interactions. And when you start interacting, when you start having these different interactions on your page, now you're in the world of UI UX design. And the reason is because as a UI UX designer, now you have to understand the workflow or the flow chart that these users will be taken down. So for example, a UI UX designer might design a flow chart. Okay, you have a login page. You go to the login page, you enter your login details, you hit submit or you hit enter. Now you're taken to another page. From there, you might fill out some other information or interact with some other tabs on that page. And then when you click on something, something else happens, either a pop-up or a drop-down occurs, and you start interacting with widgets in there. And so all these are little interactions. Okay, Facebook has a gazillion interactions on that page. Twitter has a gazillion interactions. Kayak has a gazillion interactions when you're trying to book a flight. So now all these different interactions are considered UI UX design work. Okay, so as a web designer, what you can do to position yourself as a UI UX designer is start to design projects that has multiple and various interactions. And you can list those out in nice screenshots. You can list those out in wireframes. You can list out flowcharts. Flowcharts are, you know, those simple bubble things that, you know, shows you where the user is going to go based on one particular interactions. And so you have all these ideas, or these are all the things that consist of UI UX design. So basically it all comes down to interactions. If your page has limited interactions, you're not positioning yourself as a UI UX designer. But if you have tons of interactions, and as a recruiter, if I'm looking at your website and I see, wow, there's a lot of things going on that page, and then as you know, as I look down your portfolio, you show me different states on if someone clicked on this button, this pop-up happens, and if someone clicked on this thing, this widget came over here, and then there's all these different interactions. So you might have 5 to 8 different screenshots showing different states within that page, and that's telling me as a recruiter that you're deeply looking at the user experience and looking at richer, deeper interactions. And that's the type of designer that I'm looking for if I'm looking for a UI UX designer in terms of me being a recruiter. Okay, just to give you an example there. So as a web designer, you say, Mike, how do I become a UI UX designer? So what you have to do is start researching and looking at other projects, other websites that have multiple interactions. Okay, and then from there you can continue to design personal projects that aren't client related. It's just you coming up with these ideas and you showing screenshots, showing wireframes, showing workflow charts of these different interactions, and you can start positioning yourself as a UI UX designer. Okay, and so that goes the same for online, for mobile, for tablet. Okay, so you can take all the things that I talk about, all the principles that I use in terms of web design, and start applying these everywhere, but start positioning yourself as a UI UX designer by focusing on work and showing different states and different interactions of screenshots on your portfolios. Okay, so if you're a graphic designer and you're designing this nice pretty graphic, it's really cool, it's state-of-the-art graphic, there's no interaction going on that particular graphic. Okay, so you're not positioning yourself as a UI UX designer. All right, so those are the difference. You're a graphic designer, but if you start designing forms, widgets, any type of interface that has different interactions, whether it's a hover state, clicking on a link, clicking on a video, something pops up, that's UI UX design. Now, to sum it all up, you don't have to actually code these projects. Okay, as a UI UX designer, your only job is to focus on the screenshots or focus on the mocks. Okay, so if something is very difficult to program in your mind, that's not your worry. Okay, so you don't have to worry about programming it. All you are as a UI UX designer is the person who is in charge of actually designing these and understanding the flow charts, understanding the wireframes, understanding the different interactions that the user is going to take. Okay, so that's kind of like in a nutshell how you position yourself as a UI UX designer. And so as a web designer, don't worry about coding these projects, just put them up on your portfolio. And as you get better, if you have better wireframes, better looking flow charts, better looking designs, then you will start being heavily recruited as a UI UX designer, because people, companies will want to have those designers in-house and have them work for you and pay, and be willing to pay you top dollar to come work for them and apply those same principles, those same techniques to their projects. All right, so that's how I would say you start positioning yourself as a UI UX designer. All right, that's all I got, guys. If you have any more questions, visit my website, mlwebcode.com, and I'll be happy to answer anything for you, and we'll talk soon.